with an extremely special guest who we are calling Mr. Author because he wishes to remain anonymous. So his voice is altered and you won't see a picture of him, but the poster of his play, Tiananmen Requiem, and he's going to tell us why he wrote this play and the history of Tiananmen Square, the story itself, and most important of all, LGBTQ plus rights that are happening right now in China. So take it away, Mr. Author.
I would like to start with why I wrote Tiananmen Requiem. The Tiananmen crackdown affected my family. Both of my grandfathers were educators. One of them was a professor of geography in Shanghai. And seeing how students who were protesting peacefully were slaughtered, it was very painful. In fact, for many years, they wouldn't talk about it. When I asked them about Tiananmen, it was just silence. My uncle, he was a student at the time in Shanghai, right when Tiananmen happened. 3 days after the massacre, he made a trip to Beijing. It took probably a day or so at the time. He wanted to show solidarity with the local students. And he told me what he saw. He had walked into a lane. It was lined with corpses that were flattened into color. It was just a smear of flesh. He said that it was the brightest thing he'd ever encountered.
I note that in your play you write about the character, the soldier character, is wanting to fight for his country. He does not believe that the Tiananmen thing is the thing that they should be doing.
Not all soldiers wanted to fire on students. In fact, a lot of them refused, and even the ones who did, many of them regretted their decision. Certainly, there were people who do not regret their decision, but there's definitely a human side to the soldiers, and this is what I also wanted to shine a spotlight on, is that it's a very, very complex situation, very complex, and the soldiers they were under such pressure. It was just impossible to win, to do the right thing, because there really was no decision that could be morally 100% morally justified. It was a very difficult, complex situation.
You have really taken a very dangerous path and put this story to paper. Why did you do it? Why did you write the play?
Tiananmen is so ingrained in my family's consciousness. When I was 6, my grandfather finally was able to get me a passport to travel overseas. And in the summer of 1989, I was ready to join my parents in Germany. But that was the summer when Tiananmen happened, and I couldn't leave the country. So Tiananmen affected my childhood. It affected my grandparents, my uncle. It still lingers over my entire family like a dark cloud. I wrote a play about it because I have no choice. I'm a writer, and my only way of dealing with trauma is to try to turn it into something beautiful. And that's what I try to do with this play.
What do you want us to do? Once we hear this play, the theater-going audience, for any show now, no matter where it is, they see a show, they leave the theater. What do we leave the theater with after your play?
I would like people to feel that even in the darkest of times, in the most brutal world, there is tenderness. There's tenderness. There's tenderness in everything. The story that I'm trying to tell is in essence a love story, and love is in a way it's both specific and universal. And this story, even though it's a love story that is about a gay couple during Tiananmen, it's a story that everyone can connect with. So, in a sense, I want people to be able to connect to a world, a brutal world, but still feel a sense of tenderness.
Were there gay issues in your family at that particular time that were involved in this?
My family has always been very supportive of LGBT issues, you know, there's several members of my family who are part of the LGBT community, and that is always been something that's very very important to me. So in a way, I did put, you know, some part of myself, some part of my family into this story.
But it's a natural aspect, of course, that's part of it because it's part of your life. Yes.
It is. It is a very very big part of my own life. Yes.
I was thinking before we were talking about the soldiers, it occurred to me, sometimes the safest choice for a soldier is to fall back on duty. And that way you don't have to think morally or ethically or anything. It's just like, I'm doing my duty to my country and I'm not going to think about what it implies.
I was just following orders.
This is a really really great point, and I want to actually tell you a story that I heard from the historical consultant for my play. My historical consultant, he was a student leader during Tiananmen, and ironically, he also served in the People's Liberation Army before he was a student. So he kind of knew both sides, and he told me that after Tiananmen, he was jailed for 2 years because of his involvement in the protests. And while he was in jail, he actually met a soldier who participated in the crackdown. Now he was in jail for a different reason, because he had killed his girlfriend after Tiananmen. But he couldn't pass up the opportunity to speak to him and ask him questions. And what he asked was he didn't accuse the soldier of anything. He just asked him, just tell me, who gave the order? Who gave the order to shoot? Was it to kill us? What was it? And the soldier just said, the order was just to shoot below the waistline. You know, that was the order, basically, to try to aim to shoot, but try to aim below the waistline so that you wouldn't kill a person.
I want to thank Mr. Author for letting us share this first part of his fascinating interview with High Drama. As March moves closer, we'll be visiting him again. For the entire interview, visit jmichaelsarts.com. And now back to a somewhat more familiar world.
Does High Drama need to be rescued from all the shows we saw this time around? And I gotta tell you, I saw a lot of kids shows, and we're going to start with Stacy Weingarten's Rescue Brew, with music and lyrics by Kate Steinberg, Joshua Zecker Ross, Angela Parrish, and Dana Aaliyah Levinson. It's told by Rose, who is Caitlin Kinnunen, who we know from The Prom. There's this poor unloved puppy without a name who has horrible human parents, and all they care about is the cat Mishka. Well, luckily, Puppy is visited by his fairy dog mother, and she grants him any wish Puppy could want. All Puppy wants is a happy ever after. Fairy dog mother warns him that such a wish is very dangerous, but he wishes it anyway. After Mishka and Puppy are thrown out into the cold, cruel world, Mishka goes off on his own. He certainly isn't going to help out a Puppy. But luckily, again, Puppy runs into Squish, who is a savvy street dog. In their adventures to find happiness, they come across the dynamic tap dancing brothers Apollo and Artemis and an unexpected surprise. How did Roo get his name? Will all the animals find their forever homes with nice people? I sure hope so, because they are just such cute and cuddly puppets. This was utterly charming. The music was delightful and the puppets were adorable and seemed to have emotions. My only problem was that the cat looked too much like a dog, and I kept forgetting it was a cat. And it was purple too. Using a big picture book as a set was very clever. This is a great show for young and old. There are so many boomer references that I was guffawing the entire time, plus lots of doggone puns. So I was in my element. Happy face, tail wagging. Damon Chua's The Emperor's Nightingale loosely combines Hans Christian Andersen's Nightingale fairy tale with Chinese historical facts about 300-year-old dynasties. The emperor charges his two sons, the older Prince Hongxi and younger Prince Bao, to find out all about China, the land they are destined to rule in 100 days. But whoever comes back with the best report will win the kingdom. Hongxi has the duplicitous minister Wu and the treacherous Italians helping him out, while Bao has his very clever mom who knows about a magical nightingale who roams around the kingdom and knows everything that is going on and has the magical ability to speak. The bratty Bao isn't interested in helping out his downtrodden people, which makes the nightingale very sad. She was hoping he would listen to her and take action, but he ignores her and his mother, who should really be the ruler, but that's another fairy tale. Will Bao come to his senses before the tiger eats the nightingale? Will the scheming Hongshu and Wu succeed? It was so enchanting to see some of the actors switch from cute or ferocious animals to humans. And I'm a sucker for fairy tales and history, so this was right up my alley. And the sets by Yoxin Chen and costumes by Karen Boyer were so exquisite. This is a great show to bring the whole family to, and it's nice to see sulky kids turn into decent human beings with the help of a magical bird and mom. So this gets a happy face, and Mark is seeing this later, so go to Facebook page to see what Mark has to say about this. And now for my favorite kid story of all time, Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, silly willy-nilly of a bear. And they even use the movie music and other music from the Sherman Brothers. And they even got the guy who plays Winnie the Pooh, who sounds just like Sterling Holloway. But here is Sasha Clarke to tell you, so you can stop listening to me and listen to Sasha talk about the kids show for a change. Take it away, Sasha.
Stepping into the theater, the very detailed and well-appointed set greets you, along with the lush soundscape of noises from the 100-acre wood. So before the show even starts, with an intro by the owl, you're well ensconced in the locale. Very cleverly, they dim the lights very slowly before the intro. So there is not the usual screeching from the children, and everybody seems quite comfortable. Although the show is a breezy 70 minutes, it does not seem abbreviated in any way. At the beginning, we see a note on the tree informing us that Christopher Robin has gone off to school, as it is also told during the dialogue. In the meantime, Pooh is in search of honey, of course, and all of his many friends get involved in this adventure. Starting in the fall and wending its way through the seasons, the show abounds in much of the Lion King-esque magic that Disney brings among the puppets who play the characters and the puppeteers who animate them. In the summer, Christopher Robin returns from school, boarding school, and reunites with Winnie the Pooh. Many of the scenes will be familiar to fans of the various books and Disney movies over the years, as they are cleverly woven together. Some of the songs are also from those sources, along with some new songs written for this production. Here, the puppeteers are dressed in sky blue rather than the traditional black. Other effects abound, including blowing leaves and snow. Among the many adults without children in the audience, I laughed, I cried, I liked it better than Cats. The puppets were beautifully constructed and are delightful to watch with their handlers. Run to see this before it disappears. It is not going on tour, but it will be produced again in Chicago in the very near future. Very, very happy face.
Yeah, and the thing is, the puppets are life-size. They're complete, and you get Rabbit, Eeyore. Eeyore's my favorite character. He's so gloomy, and Piglet, who is so timid. I'm a very small animal, and I don't think I'm of much use to anyone. But he turns out to be very useless. And of course, there's Bouncy, Clouncy, Fun, 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 Fun. I'm the only Tigger, and I'm the only one. And I love Tigger. And then there's Rabbit, who's concerned with his vegetable garden. And we mentioned Alan, of course, Kanga, and Vroom. So all your Pooh characters are there. You're going to just love it. It's just so much fun. It was major happy face. New Ohio Theater was supposed to put on Petunia's Playhouse Live, Petunia's Big Day, but because of COVID, they finally said, you know, we want to show this cute little story, so we're going to show it virtually. And it's only 30 minutes, and it's just, again, a cute little kids thing. Laura K. Clarke's Petunia's Playhouse Live, Petunia's Big Day, with music and lyrics by Billy Ritchie, has Petunia all excited about her first day of school. She talks with her BFF Pumpkin Duck. All is fine until Anxiety Monster and his unpaid interns, Butterflies in the Stomach, make Petunia worried about school. Luckily, her wise mom, again with the good mom, comes to the rescue with sage advice on how to combat anxiety monsters. With a blend of puppets and grown-ups, this was just, again, a really fun show, and it's great for the little kids who are going to school for the first time. It'll allay all their anxieties. Happy face.
This Beautiful Future is written by Rita Kalnagayas and directed by Jack Serio. And it's set at 1944 August in Chartres, France. And we have a French teenage girl, Elodie, played by Francesca Carpanini, is spending the night with a young German soldier named Otto, played by Justin Marr. She's brought wine and cheese as well as an egg for a chick that may hatch soon. He has to rejoin his troop at dawn. He thinks he's going to England, but Elodie has heard on the radio from the BBC that the Americans are arriving and the Germans will lose the war. They're meeting in the home of Mrs. Levy, a Jewish woman who Elodie believes will be coming back, but Otto, a confirmed Nazi, is sure that she won't, and he feels that's a good thing. Interspersed with the scenes of the young ones, we have an older couple, Angelina Fiordalisi and Austin Pendleton, who sing period songs and reminisce about how their lives might be different if they lived them over again. Subsequent scenes show an unhappy future for the lovers, as well as a flashback to their first meeting. The play offers a touching reminder of how war brings people together and tears them apart. I thought the young performers were fresh and believable, and the older couple added poignancy to the story of young love. For me, the play was brief but satisfying. I gave it a happy face.
Despite an experienced cast, I felt that this show falls very short of its mark. The venue, which I had never experienced before, is very interesting, and as far as I can tell, is usually used as a gallery, but it works well for this small production. There are the young Romeo and Juliet-esque lovers, as was mentioned before, and then their older selves, playing against this backdrop of World War II and reminiscing about their time together. The set was interesting and a good use of the very limited space. Unfortunately, the director set a lot of the action on the ground, again making it difficult for much of the audience to comfortably see, despite the small number. To me, the play did not really stand out. The best thing was Miss Fiordalise's performance and singing during the show. Also, the quote unquote hope for the future, which comes about in the final few minutes of the play, which is quite charming. However, it is a long wait for such a slight glimmer of hope. For me, very unhappy face.
Well, I finally got to go to 59 East 59th Street. It's been 2 years. This is one of the last holdouts that I had not been to in a while. So that was very exciting. Well, the civilians are putting together a musical called Whisper House with music and lyrics by Duncan Sheik, book and lyrics by Kyle Jarrow, and it was conceived with Keith Powell, and it was directed by Steve Kazan. A couple of malicious ghosts set the tone in the beginning with "Everyone's better off dead," which makes me think of Sweeney Todd's "You all deserve to die." Christopher, still in short pants, has lost his father in World War II, and his mother's gone crazy. So he is forced to live with his aunt in a lighthouse in Maine, where she has a Japanese man helping her out. The local sheriff stops by and tells her she has to get rid of the helper, the Japanese helper, as they are now in a declared military zone. Will she give in to the sheriff's demands, and will Christopher give in to the ghosts?
Against the backdrop of the haunted lighthouse, this turgid story of a boy, the aunt he never met, and her helper and friend unfolds. Set during World War II, it is a beautiful production with an effective set with light, sound, and costumes to match. The cast was very good and did the best they could. The choreography was great. Unfortunately, despite the good direction and the humorous at times lines, this story was strangely unaffecting. I was not invested in the characters or the story and found myself, as well as many others in the audience, fidgeting.
Myself included.
At a lean 90 minutes, this should not be the case. The music was fine and the small orchestra was well led by Wiley DeWeese. Though in my humble opinion, in such a small venue, the sound in general was over amplified.
Yeah, I'm giving this a mixed face minus. I can't believe it, because Duncan Sheik, I mean, please, Spring Awakening, Kyle Jarrow, SpongeBob SquarePants, and other things he's done. I love the people involved, but my God, this was such a fail. And, and the ghost, just like, you just wanted to just smack them. It's like, oh God, and give up the ghost already. I'm tired of you. So yeah, I was very disappointed. So recently I was looking at Origin's first Irish festival, and I came across The Eighth, which is a compelling documentary outlining the struggles to repeal the Eighth Amendment in Ireland, which made abortion illegal back in 1983. Constitutionally now, the unborn child was given more equal rights to life than the mother. And they were given, both sides were given fair treatments for or against abortions. And they focused on veteran campaigner Abby Smythe and glitter activist Andrea Horan. And my favorite placard was, "Get your rosaries off my ovaries." I found this very compelling. And it talked about this 14-year-old rape victim who threatened suicide because she couldn't get an abortion. And the only way to get an abortion was to leave the country. The courts actually ruled that if there was a danger to the mother, she could travel outside the country to get an abortion. But a more tragic case involved Sativa Halapanavar, who was having a miscarriage, and she was still forced to have the dead baby and died in the process. So all these things added up to a powerful grassroots movement that took shape in 2017. I'm glad I was ignorant of the outcome, and I didn't look it up on the Wikipedia either, because this was a real nail biter and the suspense was palpable. With what is going on right now in our country and the threat to Roe versus Wade, this will resonate even more with you. It's a must see. It's available until January 31st. And I'm going to be watching other of the First Irish Festival. So check out my Facebook page for more reviews, but I just haven't had a chance to look at more, but I'm definitely going to be covering more because First Irish Origins always puts on such wonderful shows. Happy face.
Thanks, Eva. Origin First Irish Festival does include wonderful shows, and I'd like to mention two I saw the past week. Fishamble's superb Duck, Duck, Goose, written by Catriona Daly and coming all the way from Dublin, opened the festival, but was only available through January 16th. So it's already closed, but I want to mention it because it was all so well done. It concerns a young woman who claims she was raped and the young men who claim they didn't do it. It focuses on Chris Quinn, a friend who was not directly involved in the incident. It was an intelligent discussion on the nature of truth from both sides of the issue, beautifully written and brilliantly acted. Was she raped? Did the boys do it? Chris swore they didn't, and what happened to him was a lesson for all of us. Hopefully, Fishamble will run it again. We could use this play in New York City. Deirdre Kinahan's In the Middle of the Fields was originally done in Washington, D.C. on P Street Beach. Now it's available online as part of the First Irish Festival. This film version, staged outdoor in one of the first live productions in DC during the pandemic, features Jessica Lefkow, Caroline Dubberly, and Ryan Sellers. In this poetically spoken and staged play, Ethne, played by Lefkow, who is undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer, wonders what her life would be like on the other side of recovery from this deadly disease. The play is well written, the acting quite moving. Jessica Lefkow is a stunner as she suffers and tries to overcome her cancer. Carolyn Dubberly and Ryan Sellers play all the supporting roles, with the scenes moving from one to another with grace and intelligence. Another happy face for Origin's First Irish Festival.
So on our next show, February 12th, I'm very excited. We're going to be talking from Rattlestick. They're doing this interactive show called Address List, created and directed by Martin Burrows, and it's Jonathan Payne's created it. It divides the audience into 3 teams to help Josie, a runaway from Buffalo, an unemployed vet Louie, and this alcoholic father with his son Wallace try to raise enough money to get an apartment. And you help make decisions and everything has consequences. It's very exciting. And also we might have guests on our show from Clue that they're doing in Paper Mill Playhouse right now. And my old buddy from Shock of the Funny Days, Michael Kostroff. So lots to look forward to on our next show. Bye-bye.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for
So
joining us.
cool.
And, we have a lot to talk about.